Welcome back to the Kiwi Wedding Podcast. My name is Lydia. I'm an Auckland wedding photographer at Lydia Rachel Photography and your host. This week I'm joined by Jasmin, who shares the story of her Tipi Marquee wedding on her parents' property in Matakana, right between the Auckland floods and Cyclone Gabrielle. Aucklanders, you'll remember that time well. And when I say the weather threw a lot at them, I mean their ceremony space was literally underwater. The marquee site was turning to mud, roads were closed, and they had guests trying to fly into a closed airport at one point. Jasmin also has a background in event planning and now works with the amazing Lisa at With Love Weddings and Events, who you know we love. We've had it on the podcast before, and along with some of their amazing clients. And honestly, they're such a dream to work with. Everyone that works with them raves about them. We chat about how Jasmin and Matt met at work, their off-grid proposal in Kaikōura, the wedding colour palette that accidentally connected back to her grandmother's wedding, the reality of budgeting for a marquee wedding, and the last-minute pivots that helped save the day. I didn't plan it this way, but I've had a few conversations lately with brides who've had to navigate really intense weather around their weddings. I actually think it's so helpful to hear these stories because it normalizes the fact that sometimes it does happen and it doesn't mean that your day is ruined. So let's get into it. Enjoy episode 145 with Jasmin. Hi, Jasmin. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. Excited to hear all about your story and what happened on your wedding day.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so hyped to be here.
So good. So yeah, I'd love it if we could kind of go back to the start and you could tell us a bit of the story of how you two met, a bit about you and your lives together.
I have a background in event management. Started about 10 years ago, and I was working for a company called Gymnastics New Zealand, and I was their event coordinator there, and it was my very first job out of uni and my very first event that I was planning with them, which was their secondary school national competition. So it was a bit of pressure, but it was fab. And I rocked up, my very first event, my very first day, and I met this guy called Jasmin Palmer, and I kind of thought to myself, oh, nice smile. He's an attractive lad, and he was actually one of the judges for the men's gymnastics. Anyways, throughout the day, I kind of would touch base and, do all the eventy things that you do and check in that things were going okay and on time. And there was a point where we were between sessions, so I had a quick chat to him and conversation was flowing. And I remember asking him at one point, like, so because you did gymnastics, does that mean because you judged, does that mean you did gymnastics? Like, I don't know. I don't know too much about gymnastics, to be honest. But here I am organizing the event. And he kind of said to me, oh, yeah, like I've dabbled. Like, oh, cool, keep it cool. And then later in the day, we were closing up for the day, and he came over and helped to pack up, which was really kind of him. I kind of thought, I was like, that's nice. And then say thanks for all your help today. You've been fab. And he kind of said, do you want to go out sometime? I was like, oh, okay. I don't know quite how acceptable this is, given I'm a worker and you're a volunteer. This is going on in my head. So I try to play it like so cool, like so casual. So I was like, oh yeah. And it wasn't until later that evening I got back to our hotel and I did some like internet sleuthing, as you do. And found out that he had been to 2 Commonwealth games for gymnastics.
Just dabbled.
It's like, cool. I look like an absolute ning-nong. But nah. Honestly, and then from there, we went on a few dates and just connected. And my mum actually and my auntie have a really long history in gymnastics, and sort of was just fitted really lovely and perfect. So he's working now as an accountant, but he also still does gymnastic judging as like a volunteer job. And then I'm working for Love Weddings and Events with the lovely Lisa, who you had on previously. So I'm working as her wedding and events specialist. So I'm absolutely loving it. It's just the best.
So good. Yeah, we love Lisa around here. Had her on and had, yeah, quite a few of your guys' brides on now as well, who always rave about the With Love team. Were you already doing weddings before you got married? Did you kind of have that experience as
No,
well?
the only one that I had previously done was a rabbi's wedding. But usually my previous background was like corporate events as well as like the Farmers Santa Parade and big parades and any kind of celebration like that we were doing. So a little different. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm sure like fell in love with weddings as you were
Oh,
planning
yeah.
your own as well as you did. Yeah.
100%. Even like when I wasn't quote, fully working in the industry, I'd always be watching on Instagram and seeing what was happening and everything and watching all the trends, even before planning my wedding. And I was just like, this is just such an amazing industry to be in. Yeah.
So you guys, yeah, dated for a while and then got engaged. Can you tell us a bit about the proposal story?
Yeah, so we dated for 5 years. I had to really make sure. And it was in 2021, and we went down to Kaikōura for our anniversary. And we went and stayed at it's called a Pure Pod. I don't know if you've heard of them, but
Yeah.
basically they're like a container in the middle of nowhere, no cell phone reception, no internet, just like they're in the dark sky zone, I think it's called, so you can just see the Milky Way and everything. And his parents are from Blenheim, so we drove from Blenheim down to Kaikōura and had a few days down there. And actually getting to the Pure Pod was part of the adventure in the story. We were driving his mum's like little hatchback car, and there was like a little bit of miscommunication between the Pure Pod company and us, and they assumed that we were in like a giant four-wheel vehicle. And so they're like, sweet, you'll be able to easily get to us. And we turned up, and there's a really long road, and there's 4 river crossings.
Wow.
So we got through the first river crossing, then we got to the second one, then we got stuck in the river. And so I've never seen Matt move so quick in his life. He like jumped out of the driver's seat, and then I had to like haul from the passenger into his seat, and then he jumped out into the river, went to the front of the car, and then like was trying to push the car back, and I had to jump in and try reverse out. It was like
So
stressed. And
stressful.
yeah, and then of
Mm.
course there's no cell phone reception, so we had to drive all the way back to Kaikōura. It's like 20-30 k's out of Kaikōura. Call the
Mm.
place, be like, hey, can you come pick us up because we can't get here. And I've honestly never felt so Auckland Metro in my whole entire life. When this farmer and his ute, and he's like in his singlet and his stubbies and his gumboots, like quintessential Kiwi farmer, came and picked us up, drove us through these rivers, and then got us to the base of the hike, and then we had to hike up to the Pure Pod. So by that time, I was well and truly a little over it. I just wanted to sit on the nice little deck and, have some wine, have some like cheese and chippies and whatnot, and just chill out. And it was honestly the most beautiful view, looking out over to the mountains, like snow-capped mountains, and just views for days. And so I was chilling, and then I saw Matt, and he starts hightailing it up the hill behind us, and I knew that he wanted to go do sunset there, and I was like, oh, I should probably go follow. Otherwise, I'm never going to hear the end of it. So I went and followed him, and he started like coming in for a hug, but he had his hands in his pockets. And I was like, this feels a bit weird. What are you doing? And then I kind of clicked what was about to happen. I was like, oh my goodness, this is happening. And there was like a water tank there, and it just wasn't quite the vibe. So I chivied us around the mountain a little bit, and then I think he was down the hill, and I was standing up the hill, and he went for the awkward hug again, and then dropped down onto one knee and said all the things, which I couldn't tell you what they are because it was just such a blur at that point. But yeah, it was just like an instant yes, of course. Yeah. And then it was just so lovely because we had no internet, we had no cell phone reception, and so we stayed there for a night and then another place, and again that didn't have any internet or cell phone, so it was just so nice to be in that little love bubble and just be us, and like it's our little secret and no one knows about it. So that was real precious. And then we finally got back into town and let everyone know. So it was beautiful. It was so lovely. But yeah, it was an adventure to get there.
Yeah, it makes for a good story after for sure.
Yes. Oh
But
my
yeah,
gosh.
sounds like
Yeah.
such a special spot. Yeah, you mentioned you'd kind of been always sort of like keeping an eye on weddings and trends and yeah, loving all of that as many of us do. Did you were you one of those girls that dreamed about your own wedding? Did you have kind of like a vision in mind? And yeah, what were those sort of first steps thinking about where to do it, all of that?
Definitely kind of had a vision in mind. I knew I always wanted to do like a Tipi Marquee. I kind of loved that like festival-y vibe, and I feel like it was very popular when we got married too. But in terms of like the venue, we kind of had no choice. My parents put a property up in Matakana area, just like a lifestyle block with an olive grove and everything on it, in 2020. So I think when we first went and looked at it, Dad said, so this is where you'll have your reception, and this is where you'll have your ceremony. We're like, oh, okay, cool. We're not even engaged yet, but all right. So we kind of had like a plan already, or not a plan, but an idea, yeah, as to where we'll get married. And then like once that all kind of happened, I just did a bit of research. I knew, yeah, one of the TPs that was like my core foundational thing, and then to build out a style from that. And I really wanted something that was timeless, especially color palette wise. And I've been mulling over it for quite some time. And it wasn't until one day I was just sitting there doing my hair, and I had like a scrunchie on my wrist, and I was like, oh, I looked at it, I was like, this is exactly the vibe I'm going for. And it was a scrunchie that had beautiful little roses on it, and it was like dusky pinks and sages and very like muted but romantic almost. And I showed it to Mum and I was like, hey, what do you think of these colors? This is kind of what I'm envisioning now. Like this is, yeah, it's just a great color palette to go through. And she said to me, oh, that looks so familiar. And she pulls out my grandma's wedding album, and sure enough, there's photos, and the bridesmaids' dresses are all a very, very similar fabric. And there's
Mm.
even a fabric swatch of her dress and the bridesmaid's dress in it. And I was just like, wow, like I gotta go with that
Meant
then.
to
Like,
be.
so yeah, meant to be exactly that. So yeah, and then we just built everything out from there. Yeah, I really wanted that festivally boho romantic but elevated modern kind of look. And I think we managed to achieve most of it.
Love that. Yeah, you've touched on a few things there, but was there anything else, like what were the most important elements, the top priorities for you on the day?
Top priorities for me were the overall look and aesthetic. I wanted everything to be really cohesive, and have like all the little details in it, because I feel like all the finer details really make a wedding. And then also a big one for me is guest experience. No, it's just like my eventing background, but it's definitely helped me. And I mean, I've been to weddings previously before being in the wedding industry. You know, you kind of take mental notes. Oh, if I would have done this, or I always thought the guest experience, you've got to provide them with shelter, you've got to provide them with like good food and drink, entertainment, and comfort. So those are like the core things. So for our day, I just really wanted to make sure our guests were having the best experience and feeling the most comfortable and hosted. Yeah, so it was from the guests had been on a bus getting to the venue, so making sure that they've got a really nice drink or a bottle of water to have when they get off that bus, giving them shade, like a parasol, a umbrella if needed, a fan, just, all those small things that really kind of show that they've been thought about in those moments. Yeah.
So good, super important. How did you find the whole wedding dress experience? I'd love if you could kind of walk us through that. Did you, go to a few different places, shopping, finding it, getting it made? Yeah, what did that look like?
So I ended up going to 3 different places. The initial one I went to, gosh, that was more like a discovery, right? So you don't really know until you've gone shopping what, like you can have a general idea, okay, I kind of want this, but then they put you into something and you're like, whoa, this is totally different to what I was thinking. And maybe now this has kind of opened up a whole range of things dresses that I hadn't even thought about. So that first one was like, and then the second one, I think the second shop was the one that I found the dress at. And then the third one, I had already had the appointment book. So it was just it really reaffirmed that second shop. It was through Jessica Couture. Yeah, it was so I went through there. We tried heaps of dresses. I was ahhing between two. One was nice A-line, and then the other one was like a tight fitting dress, and ended up going for the A-line just because comfort on the day. I don't want to be like having to hold in all the guts and, just be worried about how my tummy looks or all that kind of stuff. And then also, again, with that dress, it went back to my grandma. So she had beautiful flowers all over her dress. And yeah, this dress had beautiful flowers, lace, a little bit of sparkle and everything all over it. And yeah, as soon as we put it on, I looked them up and she's like crying. I'm like, okay. I think this might be it. But I must admit, I didn't say yes until I had to think about it. Yeah, and then I ended up going back and I was like, nah, this is the right choice. Yeah, a bit of a process, but we got there in the end, and I'm like so stoked. She's like the best.
Yeah, so good. Yeah, that's so sweet. All those little like not even intentional, but like connections to your
Yes.
grandmother and stuff as well.
Yeah.
Cool. Interesting to hear about that process. And you had a bridal party as well. How did you go with choosing them? Did you find that quite easy?
I actually found it a bit tricky, mainly because Matt was set on having 3 groomsmen, and I've got like my bestie, and then I've got my school girlfriends, and there's 5 of us. Yeah, so I was like, oh. So I went with my bestie, and then I ended up choosing 2 of my school girlfriends, and I was so gutted that I couldn't have the other 2. Yeah, it was just, if Matt would let me have more, then like, great, would have had them. But yeah, that was really tricky. They were the best, and my bestie ended up being the unofficial maid of honor. She came along to some of the dress fittings, and the ones that are just like there to hype you up on the day and help you in like run and grab things that you've forgotten. And yeah, so I just needed people that I really, really trusted. And yeah.
And how did you go with the guest list? Was that quite tricky to narrow down?
Yeah, guest lists are a fun one, eh?
Mm.
So I think at the time we were still kind of under COVID-ish restrictions. So max we could do was 100, and also with the marquees that the size that we got, we could only have about 100. So that was helpful in terms of making it narrow it down a bit for us. But we just went from the very beginning, we split it down the middle. You get 50 guests, I get 50 guests. And then we ended up with, I think it was about 93. And we kind of thought, do we add on the extras? Like, do we go to an ABC D list? And then we're like, nah, just have the cool ones there. If we're adding on extra people, then we're just adding on more costs, aren't we? So yeah, we were really happy. And it was just like a really nice number too. And then also the other tricky part was your plus ones. And they're always a bit tricky to navigate. So we ended up doing like a little bit of a rule. I don't know, it might be a bit controversial, but we said if you have only got together between us getting engaged and us getting married, then respectfully no to your plus one. But obviously, if you've been married and like we know you and all that kind of stuff, then yeah, we're happy to have you your plus one. we ended up making one or two exceptions, but yeah, it's difficult. And like that 50 just really, yeah, once you get your two sides of the family, then your friends, yeah, it just adds up so quickly.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I think any little tips and advice people love to hear, and it might sound savage making these rules, but it's just like helpful to have some parameters sometimes because you have to like narrow it down some way. So, yeah, that's interesting to hear. Yeah, I'd love it if you could tell us about the big day, maybe a little bit of the lead up to it, and then, yeah, how it all went, what happened, any highlights, favorite moments, all of that.
So our lead up was like, I feel like the main story really, and it was wedding was smack bang between the Auckland floods and Cyclone Gabrielle. So our ceremony space was totally underwater. Where the marquees were going, it was like sludge you'd walk and there's just mud and water coming up. So that was a little worrying. And then the main road going up to us was all closed. So we also had guests flying in from overseas, and Auckland Airport at one point was kind of underwater. So it was a little stressful. I think if I didn't have that event background, I don't think I would have been able to be as chill and resilient as, I would have been. But I think that really, really kind of helped and just make decisions. So one of like the key decisions was that we put like polyurethane plastic all down on the grass before we put down the matting, because it wasn't like a hardwood flooring, it was just like a hessian matting, and then putting up the marquee. So it meant that when guests walked on it, mud wasn't fully coming up. Yeah. And then we were quite concerned. Obviously, our ceremony space was underwater. So that was like, what are we going to do? Where else on the property can we have our ceremony spot? And it wasn't until, because I had Lisa as my day off coordinator, I met lovely Lisa. She turned up the day before for pack-in, and we told her about the situation, and we walked around, and she was like, hey, why don't you just have it on the stairs that lead down to your ceremony space? There's a beautiful landing. Everyone can kind of sit and look down onto you guys. There's beautiful trees, and like, oh, of course, this is so smart. Why didn't we think of this? So honestly, the moment she stepped on site, it was just like, oh, this pressure, this weight like lifted, and I just knew that I could fully hand everything over now. It's all her troubles, all her problem now. And I just know that she's going to deliver the best that she can, given the circumstances. And then with that, like on the actual day, overnight, it poured down with rain, like all around the marquee. It was like soggy, wet. So we ended up pulling in a farmer in the local area, and he gave us like a bunch of hay so it would like kind of absorb it. We had like a lot of community help and extended family come in that day or the day of the wedding, and just muck in and just really help we needed. And of course, I was in the bridal room. I had no idea what was happening. I was just like, oh, it's all good. So to find out afterwards how involved everyone was, I was just like, gosh, that I'm just so, so lucky. Everyone just, yeah, mucked in to deliver this day for us. It's just so beyond special. Yeah, the neighbours, everyone. And then the actual day, gosh, we were so lucky. I swear it was like the one nice day that whole summer. So yeah, got ready next door. Luckily, the neighbors that we stayed at, they both have like Airbnb accommodations, which was like super handy. So Matt stayed at one neighbor's and we stayed at another. And we got ready there, and I had like a little bit of a parade procession from like next door to my parents' house. The girls arrived in my cousin's like Cadillac, and then Dad had this has a Porsche, so he like was very keen for me to go in with that. And then we also had a bagpipe lady, bagpipe us. She walked us over, so that was really fun. And Dad's Scottish, so that was like his thing that he was really excited about and his like touch. So yeah, and then we got there saw Lisa. I was just like, it's gonna be fab. My pressure is off. I've seen her, and then she cued us, and yeah, got us down the aisle. And to see Matt like crying at the ceremony, I was like, oh, so good, like so happy. And then after the ceremony, we did our champagne tower, your hugs and kisses. And I had planned it in our schedule, and I feel like every bride should do this in their schedule, is have a moment where you can actually go into your reception space and see it all come together. That was one of my favorite moments. Was I've worked so hard on this wedding for the last 12, 18 months, and to actually see everything that I've planned come to fruition, just the best moment. There's a photo of my face is just like so hyped and ecstatic. So definitely, if you can, I would for sure add that into your timeline, because by the time you're actually able to go in there after your bridal entrance, everyone's sat down. They've put bags on the table. They've put like jackets up and everything, so you don't get to see the full vision. So yeah, that was a highlight for sure. And then obviously like the speeches, I feel are so special because often you never get to hear these special words from people, especially the Kiwi men. They're just very like, stoic and don't say too much. So then when you do hear these special words from your dads or your friends or whatnot, it's just like so precious. So that was definitely a highlight for us. And then my last absolute highlight favorite moment was very much us, or very much me. So I was a former emo back in the day. So for the last half an hour of our wedding day on the dance floor, we did a half-hour power hour, emo hour, we were calling it. And so we chucked on like, some Avril Lavigne and some My Chemical Romance. And honestly, it was just the best. It was so good. I just had so much fun. Yeah, it was like, I remember being in that moment, being like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I'm on the dance floor. I'm dancing to some of my favorite music, and I've got all my favorite people around me. This is like, it doesn't get better than this kind of thing. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, so cool. I love that. I feel like that's such a good idea for people as well, just like having a little nostalgic moment. I think, yeah, being that generation, I'm like, yes, that's so good. That was such an era. There's so many cool moments in there, despite the slightly stressful lead up. And yeah, incredible how you had everyone, mucking in and making it work for you, because yeah, a flooded property, the closed road, all the things that you had to traverse is a lot. And it sounds like you kept relatively calm throughout it all. So,
we had one minty bee.
yeah, understandably deserved. Yeah, but I've been having a few chats with brides lately that have had to contend with the weather in some way or another. Unfortunately, it happens, and we've been having more of these like tropical cyclones come through in summer. So yeah, I think it's just great for people to hear how it doesn't have to fully ruin your day. There's things you can do, and you did plan for having shelter and keeping everyone comfortable, and like pivoting your ceremony spot and all of that. So it doesn't have to fully ruin your day. You still had the best day ever. Yeah, so, so good. Maybe that was the hardest part, but my next question's kind of like, what did you find the hardest part of wedding planning? Or, yeah, is there anything you look back on and regret or would have done a little bit differently?
I think the main one now would be getting a marquee with an actual hard floor. That's a big one now. But in terms of like the planning process, I think it was a bit difficult in terms of, you've got such a long time between, getting engaged and your wedding. And you're on social media and you're on Pinterest, and there's so many things and heaps of information, and it's really hard to kind of filter through some of that. And like, yeah, there's some great ideas, picking out what to actually good for you and what's going to suit you guys. So I definitely found that real tricky. Like that algorithm got me locked in, and I was like, it made me feel so overwhelmed, and you can't help but like start to compare, or oh, they did this, maybe I should do this. So I found that kind of quite difficult. And then personally, because I have that event background, I probably put it more on myself, just having that extra pressure that I'm like, I think my guests are expecting it to be this like, wow, amazing. So if it's not, then I've failed kind of thing. So that I found a bit difficult. And then of course the weather. So we kind of made the plan early January to add on an extra marquee, which meant that that was going to be like, if it was actually raining outside for our market, for our ceremony, sorry, that would have it in there. So yeah, it was just that rain, and that was, biggest advice so far would definitely be like, if you're having an outdoor wedding, you have to have that rain plan. You've got to have that backup rain plan no matter what. Yeah, it's so those were definitely the trickiest, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That's, yeah, great advice. And yeah, I think lots of people will relate to you on just like the wedding content overwhelm as well. And yeah, especially when you do have that kind of like, yeah, year and a half engagement and it's quite a bit of time, you might start doubting decisions you've made or just like seeing more and more ideas, but you have to just like commit at one point into what you're gonna do. But yeah, some great advice in there. I know it's been a little while, so it might not be as relevant now, but did you guys have a set wedding budget, if you're happy to talk about that, or yeah, how you found that whole side of things?
Yeah, I think initially our budget was probably around like that 50 to 60K mark. So we were trying to do it relatively on the cheap for a marquee wedding. And I tried to like DIY a lot of it myself. And gosh, I would not do that now. um,
So much time. Yeah.
yeah. I was like, I'm saving some money here, but in reality, I really wasn't. So it kind of ended up, especially with all those last minute weather costs, more about that 75 to 80K mark. Yeah, it was just that rain contingency, everything kind of, yeah, really pushed it up. I mean, it's difficult to fully stick to a budget, but it was.
Totally. I guess you had a little bit of an idea just from working in events and stuff, like
Mm,
how much things cost. So it wasn't like super surprising to you. Yeah.
no. But as soon as you had to start paying for yourself, you're like, oh,
Yeah.
having that event experience actually was quite helpful, especially with the budget, like you say, because it meant that I was able to relay to family and friends, like, this is actually the reality. We could try doing it cheaper, but it's not going to turn up as well. Or, yeah. So I had to be like, yeah, this is the reality. The usual one that I'm planning is like this and this. And they're like, oh, okay. So yeah, it was good education.
Yeah, totally. So good. Did you guys go on honeymoon straight away, or what did planning that look like?
We went about a month later actually, and we went to Italy and Turkey, which was
Amazing.
amazing. Yeah, Matt was judging a gymnastics comp in Antalya in Turkey, so we kind of based our whole honeymoon around that. And like him and I love to travel, so we're always creating bucket lists and watching YouTube where we want to go and sort of doing research, even just like. Uh, on a random night we'll be sat there watching random YouTube. So that kind of
So
helped with
good.
our planning. And we knew we wanted to do Italy, and yeah, Turkey was just how cool. Like I've been to Italy before. I don't think Matt had, but yeah, Turkey just seemed so fun. So we went there, and then yeah, went to Cappadocia and Istanbul and Pamukkale, and it was phenomenal. And then yeah, Italy was, I mean, pasta, Aperol, like, come on,
The
so
dream and
good.
one of my favorite countries for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like you had a bit of event experience, obviously, as we've touched on, and probably, yeah, sort of knew what to do on the planning side. But was there any sort of helpful resources that you used throughout the planning process, or yeah, anything that helped with finding like inspiration or vendors, stuff like that?
So for me, Instagram was a great one for finding vendors, especially wedding vendors. So I know like all the corporate vendors and all that kind of stuff, but the wedding ones I wasn't so knowledgeable on. So it was, you see a beautiful image and then obviously you see who's tagged in it, who's done that. So that I found real helpful and found quite a few of my vendors through that way. And then also like Pinterest, Fab, helps to kind of narrow down your vision a little bit. But the biggest one I found super helpful was actually Canva. I ended up getting the premium for it, and I designed like all our stationery, everything, signage and all that for it, or using it, sorry. And I even used it for like our mood board for our floor plan, creating bar menus and all the things. So I just found that super, super helpful, just so I can actually visualize things, especially I mean, with Pinterest, it kind of gives you a little bit of an idea, but I was able to pull like images from the furniture hire company and glassware and, like all those and put them on and see if they do match and if it is cohesive. Yeah. Because, you can kind of see it in your mind's eye, but actually physically seeing it. So, yeah, I found that real helpful.
Oh, cool. That's such a good one. Yeah, I don't know if everyone thinks of using it in that way as well with Canva, but that's so good. You've given a lot of amazing advice already, but is there anything else you would say to a couple planning their wedding at the moment, maybe both from a bride's perspective and someone in the wedding industry now too?
I would say get yourself a wedding planner, get
Mhm.
yourself a day of coordinator. If you can't do a wedding planner, like they're worth their weight in gold. My goodness. If I didn't have Lisa that day, I don't know how it would, it wouldn't have happened. Yeah, just, and like I've been to a friend's wedding recently and they didn't have one. And I ended up stepping in because, it's just the small things throughout the days, like cueing your music and getting you down the aisle. There might be quite a bit of a distance between where you're standing and being dropped off and the ceremony spot. And you need someone to be like, give the thumbs up to the celebrant and the DJ or whatnot to cue the music. So even just like those small little moments, or helping liaise with the chef, about timings and how things are going. So for sure, if you can, get yourself a day of coordinator or wedding planner. Yeah, just worth their weight in gold. And then have a really good, solid weather backup plan.
Any time of year, especially in New Zealand.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and definitely like trust your vendors. Trust your vendors. They're there for you. They're gonna deliver everything that you are wanting. So, just gotta. They're so creative. I mean, we had Ruby as our florist from Ruby Low, and
Amazing.
yeah, she just fully understood the vision, went above and beyond, and you've just got to really trust and pick the right people. Yeah.
So good. Such great advice. Totally agree. And yeah, like you were saying before, when people don't have a coordinator, I've been to a few weddings as a guest. Don't often get to go as a guest these days, often shooting them, but it's always special. But yeah, I've definitely noticed when there's just like that bit of an awkward moment because no one's put the music back on, or yeah, queuing people down the aisle, all those little things, like people don't think of that, but yeah, so important. So I've said it many times on this podcast, but 100% recommend, one of the most important vendors you can get or assign someone to that role for sure. What is married life like now? And do you feel like you had any post wedding blues after your wedding?
The post wedding blues were just like insane. You've been planning and planning for so long, and then it comes and goes so quickly, and then you're like, oh, okay, what now? So, I mean, luckily we had our honeymoon, but then, it was still, yeah. And then you get the photos through and the video and everything. So you get to like relive it. But oh my gosh, my poor family and friends never heard the end of it from me. I was constantly talking about it. So yeah, big blows. But yeah, soon after we kind of started our family. So got a little 2-year-old now, and we've moved up to Snells Beach. So yeah, it's just nice to kind of get out of the city and have like a really fun little childhood for our son to grow up in, and close to the beach and just really relaxed community, and yeah, grandparents just down the road. So yeah, we're really loving being up here, and yeah, it's pretty good so far.
Yeah, love
Can
it.
recommend.
So good. Oh, yeah, such a nice area up there as well. Amazing. It's been so lovely to chat to you today and catch up and, yeah, hear all about the full story of everything. So thank you so much for coming on. Is there anything else that we missed or you wanted to add as we wrap up?
No, just thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure. It's been so fun.
Highly recommend, as always, the With Love team. And yeah, if you get to work with Lisa and Jasmin, you'll absolutely love it. So another shameless plug, as always. But yeah, so special to have you both on here now. And yeah, looking forward to sharing this story. I know it's going to help a lot of people. So thank you so much.
So much. It's so fun.